actually change? Okay. Let me see here. Do I get sound to the OBS? Looks like, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Let's see here. So I'm jumping straight back in. How's it going, C. Grover? Yep, I'm jumping straight back in with ColorConverter. I've made a little bit of progress since last time as far as understanding it. But we'll tinker with it some more, and I'll kind of try to level set and make sure the way I'm understanding it now is actually reality. So a few things that I have learned / played with since the last time. I think that, so I guess let me just say up top, everything that I will say is kind of how I understand it now. It may still turn out to be not true, so it's not necessarily a stream where you can base, you know, everything on what I'm saying. This is kind of my current understanding. I may or may not be correct, and hopefully we'll come to an understanding of it. But what I think right now is that RGB 888, i.e. 24-bit color, right? 24-bit color, which in GIMP you can select 24-bit color when you export. Under here, 24 bits is one of them, as is 32 bits, and you can export like this. This kind of color, I think, does only work with on-disk bitmap. I think you cannot use... Well, let me rephrase a little bit. You cannot use image load on a 24-bit bitmap. So if you have an actual BMP file, like one you save from GIMP, and it's 24 bits, it's 888, you can only show it with on-disk bitmap. And this is not indexed either, right? We're not on mode indexed, which is what I would ordinarily do for CircuitPython, but we're not actually on that. We're on plain RGB, 24-bit. I think on-disk bitmap is the only way that it can be shown. It can't be shown with image load. Let's see, do I still have the... I don't think I have the Learn Guide page. No, I don't have this. Let me reopen this. But it does work with on-disk bitmap. And I would assume, I guess it's just a choice that was made for, like, image load obviously would have to put it into memory, then take up more memory if it's has all those colors. I kind of get the trade-off. Let me actually copy this stuff back over to here for a moment. kind of the understanding I've come into is the differences between on-disk bitmap and regular bitmap as far as what kind of images they can show. I've always known they're different in that you can't set the pixels and things or get the pixels since it's not actually in memory. But another difference, it turns out, is the way the colors work. This one is red. Where'd it go? Not saved there? Oh no, there it is. This one is 24-bit color. And then it does get shown. But if we try to load the exact same image with image load, it doesn't work. It tells us we can't do it. If I take the image load one of these, this is just the display.io display a bitmap page. Check with that one instead. It will say true color BMP unsupported. So we're not allowed to show it that way, but the exact same one we can show with on-disk bitmap. And then even 16-bit color, because that was some of the other options here. Let me start. Well, I don't know. Maybe we only want to keep one of these at a time, I guess. Yeah, I'm just going to keep one at a time. So I'm going to save over this. We're going to re-export red. This time I'm going to do 16-bit color. We're going to do 565 in here. And we will still get the same error. We let it retry again. We still get the same error. And if we double check it now, I can look here, and this says 16-bit color. Am I covering that up on the... No, okay. 16-bit color. So we know that one's there, and we're still not able to do it. And indeed, this all makes sense so far, because when you go look at image load, the actual code inside of it, this is in here. It's in fact from right here, which is doing if colors equals 0 and color depth greater than equals 16, the equals being important in our case, greater than equals 16. It says we cannot do that. So if we could have fewer bits, like theoretically 15, I don't know if that's like a thing, 555 maybe. GIMP does not have an export for that. It does. Maybe if we do the A, is it was also having alpha. So did the 32-bit work? So let's save the 32-bit. This we expect to fail because obviously 32 is still bigger than 16. I do want the on-disk bitmap. Try it with this one. If we could get 555, theoretically, I think you could show that with image load, if that's a thing that actually exists. So that seems to work, even 32-bit. 32-bit. So maybe if we, but the alpha is not actually working, right? Like, it's actually working, is it? Alpha? I didn't even know you could have alpha inside BMP, honestly. I think this shouldn't work. Interesting. Okay, it does work, but it's just ignoring it, basically. We got the exact same thing drawn. So maybe if we do the 555 with the 1 alpha, maybe that will actually be... Maybe that will not actually be having alpha. So if we go... So my theory is that A is just ignored altogether. Maybe if A is ignored here, then possibly this will be 555. And if it were 555, oh, did I do an A again? Let me go back to no A. So that's still the same. Back to no A. Oh, the other thing we need to do is like make sure the screen is updating. Ah, and maybe it's not actually. Yeah, see, I was having this. Need to chase this at some point as well. Sometimes I get into a state where my screen's not actually updating. I've not figured out the clear steps to reproduce that, but I have now gotten into that mode a few times. So right now this one, is it actually 32? Let's say 32 there. Not try the 5 one? .555 alpha 1. Maybe GIMP writing to it? No, because now it's still refreshing. Okay, there we go. This one now thinks 16-bit. Okay. But if we ignore the alpha, like it was with the 32, it seemed like it was with the 32. No, still doesn't work. Okay, so 16, we don't get to cheat our 1 extra bit that way. Okay. So I don't know how to get an actual 555. If you could get a 555 one, then I think you could use it with image load. So this is like a difference that I did not fully understand between on-disk bitmap and image load, which is that on-disk bitmap can show those 24-bit and even 16-bit bitmaps, whereas image load cannot. Which is kind of tangential a little bit to ColorConverter, but to bring it back around to ColorConverter, let me keep all of this stuff in case we want to switch back to it still. Let's just come down here. So with ColorConverter, I think that the default ColorConverter is 888, and you can create an 888 ColorConverter and you can put it on a bitmap, much like we've done in this code somewhere. This code right here creates the bitmap, tells it this many colors, which is the maximum number of colors we can do. If we put this as 888, which is how I was doing this the other day. This is what I was testing the other day. If we put that as 888, and like we want to make it red, this one doesn't work for us because pixel value requires too many bits. Basically, this number is too big. If you put this one here, then you can have blue. And if you put this one here, then you can have green, I think. Yeah, but you just can't have red. So I think that the state we are in right now is that our bitmap is technically expecting 24-bit colors, 888, but this is smaller than 24 bits. This is only 16 bits? Question mark? Here would be 1111. So that's 4, 8, 12, 16. Yeah. That is only 16 bits. 4, 2, 3, 4. That is 24. That would be the maximum. Technically, we would need this number here in order to be able to actually make use of the full 888 color converter inside of our bitmap. But we can't actually do this. If we try to make it like this, which is what it would need to be, it will tell us that's too big, not allowed to do that. So I think the biggest one that we can use is not actually fully supported. It's only supported up to whatever color this happens to be. Interesting. I'm getting that error. I used GIMP Advanced Export to not include the bitmap palette. Didn't have to mess with bit format, but I didn't compare on disk versus image load, so my fix may not work in both cases. Leading 0 in the hex values are truncated for 565, I'm guessing. That sounds like a reasonable guess to me as well. So I'm not sure I understand the first part. Let's see. When getting that error, I used GIMP Advanced Export options to not include the palette. Sorry, I did not look back for a minute. Looks like I'm not too far behind. The error, not this error. I assume you must mean back to the true color ones. Yes, true color ones. So if we, I kept this stuff actually, so we can go this stuff, comment this one back. If we go back to our image load, which is here. Image load 1, so let's just let that run how it is. Right now we have true color unsupported, so if we change the way we save this, export this, compatibility, do not write color space. One shows 24 now. Do you still get true color not supported for the other one though? This. That's still on. The 2565. I think that 555 with the 1 alpha, I think that is the most likely one to work. It's only going to be if it can make it ignore the alpha. Seeming like it can't. Is that use do not write color space. Oh, turned it off accidentally. There we go. Back on this one. And then this would be like the swapped, I think, because it's... Oh no, it's X instead of A. Maybe we'll try that one too. What would X be? Supported there. All right. Oh, I should have closed this. I think this maybe can't. I mean, it would still say 16 bits here anyway, I guess. Ah, yeah, okay. None of those seem to work for image load. I certainly need to keep the A also. So I think that nothing warns you, nothing stops you. We don't really have any documentation to tell you otherwise that I can find. But as far as I can tell, it seems like bitmap inside display.io, bitmap the object, not bitmap the image file format type, this object here, because it's limited to 65536 as maximum value count, that means that you cannot use the full range of 888. But nothing raises an exception, nothing breaks exactly, other than just you can't use any colors that are, higher than this number, which it turns out the reds are, because the reds are the first 2 digits of the full hex or whatever, which makes them the biggest numbers in the range. But I did figure out how you can basically do what I was wanting, which was like the core question that I sat down to try and figure out functionally with the code was, how do I color this in red? And I do think I figured that out. And the key is that we cannot use 888. There's not enough numbers to use 888 and get red. What we have to do is actually use 565, which I created a separate one of these with 565. Once you, and then it gets kind of wonky because this is the input color. But in my mind, like the 888 is how I think of colors, right? Like, you know, red to me is FF0000. That's just how I think of red. So in order to be able to actually use those colors as well, it's actually helpful to create a second one of these, an 888 as well as a 565. And then you have your colors set to here. You set the one that you're actually using on your tile grid. That one we're going to use the 565. And then when it comes time to actually put colors into it, we go, you know, fill or paint a pixel or however we wanted, whatever we want to do. Here we can use our 888. We can go convert here. Now we can put our red inside of here. This is going to convert our red down to 565. Which is the thing that our bitmap is using. And so this can actually show red, and it can show all the colors as well. So if we want yellow, we can do 4 Fs there to get yellow. If we want, well, if I do white, we won't be able to see it. If we did like maybe light gray, see that one in there as well a little bit. So this is how you can do like RGB bitmaps while sticking with 888. Perhaps I wasn't using on disk. Or so on disk is the one that does work. Image load is the one that can't do the 24-bit as far as I've seen, but on disk can. Yeah. So this is like, from what I understand, this is kind of the intended way, I guess, to use bitmap with ColorConverter. Is the 888 one is helpful because it allows you to refer to colors that are normal. I will call them normal. But the 565 is the one that you actually need to use on the tile grid. Does it? What happens if we, well, yeah, if we put this back, we just, hold on, how does this one work? This is 888 on the, this is 888 with the bitmap, and then we still do a convert on the red, and it gave us green. And blue, GB, I mean, surely red is not back here, is it? No, yeah, this one gave us, this one is technically truncated. It feels backwards or something as well, because like red should be at the beginning instead of the end, so maybe this is like partially the swapped one as well. But basically, this is the same thing that we saw before. Instead of red, we get this super dark blue. So we have to put the 565 here, and then we have to run the color that we want through the converter. And if we do both of those two things, then we can have a true RGB or whatever bitmap where we just fill in whatever pixel we want with whatever color we want, rather than indexes in the palette, which is kind of more like how I'm used to doing it. Although this is actually pretty convenient. So now that I know that this exists, the from to is confusing. You mean in the color converter, like the way we need to use two of them seems confusing to me. It feels to me like, it almost feels to me like if you put this one here, then you should be allowed to just pass in the big color. Right? To me, it kind of feels like this should work. Because you set it to an 888, and then you set the color to an 888, which the converter should then convert for you down to the 565. But it doesn't actually. But yeah, it feels weird that you would need to like you put one converter on it and then you use a different converter even to get the color that you actually want to have. Now I guess if you knew 565 colors just off the top of your head, then you could plug those in. You wouldn't need the converter, but I do not know 565 colors off the top of my head. Let's do something a bit different here. So that's going to fill it with red. I want to then go for... Can you take the length of a... bitmap? Bitmap has no length. That's kind of weird. We probably should implement length. So, okay, let's go for I in range, length, well, width times height. Rante? Range. So this will iterate over all the pixels. cc dot I equals this will paint over the red and turn it into yellow. I'm not exactly sure how fast it will go. Pretty fast. I didn't even see the red. We got back to the screen not updating. Yeah, the screen's not updating again. So the last thing I did is time is not defined. Then I fixed this. Yeah, that's not good. That's like I don't think it's like a repeatable thing. I'm not doing the exact same thing the different times I get back to the state. It's like I mean, it's always, I think it's probably always file rights. I think file rights are the most like repeated thing, but that's so unspecific, the file right. It's not like file rights in a particular state. Like sometimes it was code's already crashed, sometimes it was new code's gonna crash, sometimes it was all just different stuff. Oh, that one skipped a line. That's interesting. Oh, that one skipped a line in the white, which is also interesting. Weird. It's weird. Okay, anyway, we made it. So the next thing I want to look at, so this, I'm feeling a lot better about understanding how you can use ColorConverter with bitmap, basically. And the crux of it was, it works the same way that I thought it worked. It's just that a bunch of the colors you're not allowed to use because of the differences in maximums. But aside from the fact that a bunch of them are cut out, you can't use them, it does actually function the same way I thought. As a consequence, though, of a bunch of them being cut out, in order to get what I wanted, in order to actually get what I wanted, I did have to change it up and use the 565 there. But I do wonder if that's intentional, because like I said, it really feels like I should be able to put the 888 as my pixel shader in my tile grid, and then I should be able to just use straight up the 8-bit color, and then because I have a converter which goes from 888 to 565, it feels like it should be making that conversion. Otherwise, like, what does it actually do in that case? I guess it does the same thing, it just can't return big and return all of its range. Okay. Anyway, though, functionally, I'm feeling much better about this. The next thing I do want to tinker with a bit is dither. So on our 565, we turn dither to true. I don't really see any difference there. Let's do the histogram thing again. No, if it's not in there, put it to 1, else if it is in there, increment it by 1. Set it to chosen color. Colors histogram. So this may be only the ones near 0, so we got all 10,000 as the same color. Oh, but we don't have dither. Okay, so yeah, I put dither on the wrong one, I guess. So really, we would not want dither on this one. Or I guess I should say that it doesn't matter if we put dither on this one because it's not, we're not calling convert. I don't know if it's calling convert internally, but we're not actually giving it the chance to do the dithering, I don't think, on that one. This one, though, the 888, that's the one we are actually calling this on. We put that to true. Still have 10,000 of the same color. So it's possible that this is only the colors close to 0? So let's let it do red, and then let's do... There's dark blue. At 12 all the time. This one rounded off to 1, but didn't get any variance. Not convinced dither actually does anything. Or maybe I guess I'm just not understanding how to use it. Let's make sure we definitely have... See, input color space is 888, dither is true. And true, the color converter dithers the output by adding random noise when truncating to display bit depth. Is this when truncating to display bit depth? Does that mean the same thing as calling convert? Or is that a different verb? Is that a different activity than just calling convert? Adds random noise to dither the output image. It would work when converting from 565 to 888. So it can't actually do that though, as far as I can tell. It always only goes to 565. Okay, maybe it would be then if the input was 555. Maybe if this was 555. Oh, that's gray. That's not what we want. So there are 565? I don't know how to get 555. Just don't have any green, maybe? True. No. Doesn't seem to do anything. Let's look in convert. Oh. Anything else? There's only 4. Okay, here's this function. I mean, it seems like it has logic. Logic feels weird too, though, right? Because it's if dither, but it doesn't have else. I mean, there must be some case where it can give you a different value, but not when you call convert. That's when you'll have a missing color. When you're going up to a different one, yeah. When you're changing to a format that's bigger. It does make sense that it would need to fill some in there. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like it doesn't, I'm starting to think that maybe that truncating to display depth, I'm starting to think that that is not, that is a different action than calling convert. Maybe this means the on disk bitmap? We don't use on disk bitmap. That just says bitmap.pixel shader. Oh, we're on the non-updating screen again. So this is showing our bitmap file, and it has used bitmap.pixel shader. Right now it's 16-bit, but let's do 888 for this so we can resave it. Curious what this does. Still red. So I'm gonna put that one back to that. 888. That's 24-bit now. Does work. As far as I can tell, those are all the same color. Like, I don't believe any dithering has been applied in there, which would make sense because this one should default to false, I believe, so yeah. I don't know. I don't see any. All the pixels look the same to me. I don't see any dithering in there, but it could be that it's so slight. I don't know. Okay, so that's still a different piece of the puzzle. When and how does dither actually get used? What is a functional example of something that uses it that's like measurable or seeable to the eye, where you can say, yep, that's definitely what it looks like with this on, and this is what it looks like with it off. Okay. I think we should have... I almost think there should be another example on this page for draw pixels that shows the 565 way with the convert, basically like not using the palette. And then that would be like serve as the most basic example of how to use ColorConverter. Yeah, I don't see any dither. To think like if there's an easy way to search for any demo or anything that uses it. Kaluga. Stop motion Kaluga. I mean, that's the Kaluga kit, and it's doing camera stuff. Different thing. I guess it would be in the repo for the library. Kaluga 3. This might be an old one too. Oh, stop motion. Stop motion. Oh, that's a different library. Huh? No. Okay, this is the repo, maybe. ECT. I don't understand where this file's from. I mean, I guess, like, my thing could just be old too, I suppose. I don't get why it doesn't say... Can't type anymore. I cannot type. Wasn't it Control Q? So I think the reason why is I pressed Control S. In here, and now I can't type anymore. So just close that one. But that's my history. I kind of want history though. Okay, whatever. Which one is it? PCD, PCF? I could just have out-of-date stuff, I guess, as well. I feel like either of those... Oh my god, there's so many PCFs. It says entering, and then it prints... So that's my PWD. The PWD didn't work the same here, though, because this says entering, but then it immediately prints the output from grep. But my command had PWD before the output of grep, if I understand it. So ECF 8523. examples, and that's just not there. And then it never says entering OV56, so like... Up motion. Okay. This is old then, it's no longer there? Yeah, it's no longer there. This is the wrong library. 5640 against the 2640. Used in GIF writer. Interesting. Okay. And then were there any others? BD pillow, no, that's a different thing. Nope, that's the only one. Okay, maybe there's just not, maybe there's no situation with bitmaps and display.io where dither makes any difference. Maybe this is only mattering for GIF writer. Not sure. Anyway, though, I think I'm gonna head out for now. I wanted to pop back on just for a little bit and share what I had learned about the different types of bitmaps and how to be able to actually use color converters to paint whatever color you want given the hex values. Look around a bit more, and I have achieved all of those things. So I'm gonna head out for now. Hope everybody has a good rest of your day. See Grover, thanks for hanging out, interacting here in the chat, asking questions and such. I will see you all next time. Thanks.